Want to create a compelling presentation in half the time? Grab your copy of the C Method's presentation and speech template. This free template will help you plan, write, and prepare a speech or presentation that will engage, influence, and inspire your audience every time. Download it for free at thecmethod.com/speech template. That's thecmethod.com/speech template. Welcome to Stand Out, Get Noticed, the podcast that helps you speak and present with rockstar confidence. I'm Christina Canters, your host and founder of the C Method Communication Skills Training. For free resources and to subscribe to the show, visit thecmethod.com. Hi there, Rockstar, and welcome to episode 98 of Stand Out, Get Noticed. Christina with you here. I hope you are doing fantastically well. I'm doing pretty good myself. This next series of episodes is a mini course on public speaking. This is something I teach in my workshops and with my coaching clients, and I've had a lot of requests from podcast listeners and my subscribers to do more podcasts on the topic of public speaking. So here it is. I've organised it into a mini course that spans across 4 episodes. So we'll be doing 2 episodes. So this one, then episode 99. We'll be taking a break at episode 100, because I want to do something special for that milestone episode. And then the rest of the mini course will happen in episodes 101 and 102. Sound good? Alrighty, let's do it. This week's episode is all about how to plan your presentation for maximum success. You know how they say failing to plan is planning to fail? It's exactly the same with your presentation. So if you want to be more confident when you're speaking in public, if you want to have more of an impact on your audience and get the results that you want, then I highly recommend that you listen to this episode. Do not skip it. This planning comes before everything else. Show notes for this episode will be at thecmethod.com/PS1. So that's PS for public speaking, part 1. So thecmethod.com/PS1. I do have one quick announcement, and I'm a little bit annoyed about this, but I was informed that my last episode with Nick Gray, episode 97, that we had some technical issues with that, and I released the episode where it actually cut off after the first 10 minutes. So if that has happened, you'll need to delete that episode off your phone on your app and then re-download the original episode. So I'm really, really sorry about that. I'm sorry for any confusion that may have caused. And it also happened with episode 96 too. So if you downloaded episode 96 and 97 and you found that they cut off, please delete them and re-download. And I do encourage you that you do re-download because they are amazing episodes that I'm very proud of. And I was really disappointed when I found out that it didn't publish as I would have liked it to. So I'm really sorry about that. Just goes to show you can be doing this for, almost 100 episodes and things still mess up. Okay, moving on. Let's get into this week's episode. How to plan your presentation for maximum success. Now, everything I share in this episode is outlined in my speech and presentation template, which you would have heard me mention at the very top of this episode in the pre-roll. So I recommend that you download that after you finish listening, or you can pause this, go download it, and follow it along as I speak. So go to thecmethod.com/speech template to download it. And it's a Word document where you fill in all the text boxes to help you plan your presentation. I use this, okay? This isn't something I'm like, all right, you guys do it. I don't need it, but you guys need it. I use this for all my presentations. So make sure you go download it. It helps me phenomenally. So I know that it will help you as well. And the first part of the template it takes you through that plan. So planning your presentation. Now you might be wondering, why should I bother, Christina? Well, if you don't, you're likely to lose focus if you don't have a good plan. You'll lose focus and go off track, which means that you'll be more likely to lose your audience and you won't engage them. Plus, it'll take you more time to write the actual presentation if you don't plan. Okay, so planning will save you time, which is really important if you are super busy, which I know many of you are. Okay, so All I'm asking is that you take the 10 minutes to plan your presentation, and you'll feel much more confident when you're up in front of a group speaking. Okay, so how do we plan? I have 7 steps here for you that are all part of that template. The first step is to identify your audience. This is so important. You need to think about who is going to be listening to your presentation. So, for example, last week I had the pleasure of speaking at the Stockdale and Lego conference, and they're one of Australia's biggest real estate companies. So I was speaking to real estate agents, and that was pretty much the whole audience. So as I was speaking, I had to use real estate related stories or examples. So you need to think about and write this down. Who is your audience? What are their titles? What are their backgrounds? What are they there for? Okay. Are you presenting to 8 middle-aged men who are the board of directors? Are you presenting to the entire staff at your office where there's a mix of graduates and middle managers and senior people? This will help you inform the rest of your speech. Okay. So once you've got your audience identified, that's step 1, the second step is to write down what's the number 1 key takeaway for the audience. Think about if your audience took away nothing but one thing, if they walked away with one thing, what would it be? And this might be to inspire them to do something or to have a greater understanding of this topic. Maybe if you're pitching an idea to your boss or to a team of executives, it might be to have them considering your idea, or to have them say yes, or to have them to think that you are an amazing team leader. I'm not sure. But whatever it is, think of one thing. When I spoke at Stockdale and Lego last week, my number 1 takeaway was for the audience to walk away understanding how important a strong personal pitch is. So that was my 1 takeaway, for them to understand the importance. Of course, it would have been great if they also knew if they took away how to pitch themselves, which I also shared with them. But all of that still related back to this is the importance of it. You need to understand that a strong personal pitch is going to help you in your business and in your work, right? So think about the 1 key takeaway. The third thing to write down and consider is to ask the W questions. So where, how, W and H questions. Where, how, when, okay? So you need to think about where is it happening? A presentation that you give in a small meeting room is going to be much different to the lunchroom or to a boardroom or in an auditorium, okay? It's going to be different. How many people are going to be there? When is it happening? Is it after lunch? Are people going to be tired? Right? I want you to keep this all about your audience. Think about what your audience is going through. If it's first thing in the morning, that's going to tell you that, okay, my audience has just come in, they've just had a coffee, or they're thinking about getting a coffee, or they're thinking about their day. So you need to consider all this stuff when you're writing your presentation. Maybe it's after lunch or late in the afternoon. You might need to put in some more activities or make it a bit more exciting and engaging to perk them up after they've had their lunch. They might be feeling a bit sleepy. Okay, so all of this stuff you need to consider. Another thing that I think about is how long would they have been sitting for? Let's say that you're giving a presentation after someone else and the audience has just been there for 30 minutes listening to this person, and then you're up next. For me, I would make everyone stand up, have a bit of a stretch, maybe speak to the person next to them. I would build that into the start of my presentation so I know that they've had some movement in their bodies, which means that they'll be more alert and more likely to pay attention to what I have to say. So that's number 3. Number 4, do a brain dump of everything you want to share. Now, a mistake people make when they go to write a presentation is they try to write it perfectly and all the perfect points as they go. In this step, you're going to think about all the points you want to share, all the facts and the stories and the quotes and the data, everything that you want to share, and you're going to write it all down. Just do a massive brain dump. Get it all down there. Brain dump of everything you want to share. So this helps you to avoid analysis paralysis, where maybe you're presenting a project you've been working on for months and you've got all this stuff in your head you want to share and you go, I don't know where to start, right? I don't know where to start, what to share. There's so much to choose from. So in this exercise, this allows you to get everything out on the page. That's step 4. Step 5 is now to go back to your number one key takeaway for the audience. Okay, that number one goal that you're working towards. And now I want you to look at that brain dump and delete anything that does not relate back to that number one takeaway. Now, I want you to be ruthless. Sometimes it can be difficult to delete stuff because you're thinking, oh, it's important. And yes, it might be important, but if it doesn't relate back to the number one key takeaway for the audience, then it's going to make you go off track and lose focus. It's going to dilute the essence of your presentation. Okay, so we want to keep the presentation really focused so that it can be as engaging and compelling as possible. So remove all the fluff. So that's step 5. Step 6 is to organize the remaining stuff from that brain dump into 3 to 5 key points. Okay, so now hopefully you're looking at a page where you've got a bunch of stories and facts and things that you want to share, points that you want to make, lessons and activities. Hopefully you've got all that there, and now it should be easier to organize into the main points that you want to make. So what do I say, 3 to 5 key points? Well, in my experience, if it's any more than that, the audience doesn't really absorb it as well as if it's fewer. You're better off having your presentation be simpler with fewer points for them to remember, and then the audience will be more likely to remember those points instead of trying to give them 10 things or 15 things to remember, okay? Plus, this will help you to keep your presentation to time, and it'll help you remember what you have to say as well. Because it's much easier, think about it, to remember 3 to 5 things as opposed to, 7, 10, or 15 things. So make it easier for yourself and pick a handful of points to share. Now, I'll go into this in more detail in the next episode, which will be about writing your presentation. So this episode is just about the planning of the presentation. So we've got all our stuff there on the page, and then we pull it back and get rid of everything that we don't need. And then for the next episode, I'll show you how you can work that into your presentation, into what you're actually going to write. So you've organized all your remaining brain dump stuff into 3 to 5 key points or areas that you're going to share. So that was step 6. And then finally, this is optional. If you need to come up with a title for your presentation, now is the time where you start to brainstorm a few possible titles. Now, I'm not saying come up with the final title right now, because it's often easier to write the title after you've written the actual presentation, because that will give you a clearer understanding of what you're actually talking about. Although, if you have come up with your number one key audience takeaway, that should also give you an indication of what your title could be. But for the moment, just brainstorm a few possible titles, and then you can come back and finalize it later. Okay, so that was pretty simple, wasn't it? So to quickly recap, number 1, identify your audience, who will be listening. Number 2, what's the audience's number one key takeaway? Number 3, where is it being held? How many people? When? Number 4, do a brain dump of everything you want to share. And then number 5, remove all the fluff. Number 6, organize the remaining stuff into 3 to 5 key points or key areas. And then finally, brainstorm a few possible titles. So those are my steps for planning your presentation. I hope that has been useful for you. I'll put those points in the show notes at thecmethod.com/PS1. Oh, and also make sure that you download the speech template at thecmethod.com/speech template. I'll also put that in the show notes for you if that is easier. And that wraps up this week's episode. Thank you for spending some time with me today. Keep on being awesome, and I will see you next week for the Public Speaking Mini Course Part 2. My name's Christina Canters, and this has been Stand Out, Get Noticed.